Okay, good morning, everyone. How are you guys? Thank you so much for joining in today. Good morning, Evelyn. Top of the morning to you, Grace. Hi, Bonnie. Wonderful of you guys to tune in so bright and early. I look a little different today. Decided to go with this purple lipstick. I'm always fascinated by makeup and the things that people do with makeup. I'm not an adventurous person, but sometimes you gotta be a little adventurous. So lately I've been buying some different like lip colors and stuff, and I'm like, why not purple? Sometimes purple looks interesting on people. Good morning, Lizette. Outside really looks different regarding this dust. Wow. Well, I haven't been outside yet, but Grace, I want you to stay inside as much as you possibly can, because if you guys missed it, we do have a Sahara dust plume that is heading our way. Well, it's supposed to be here today, actually. So it's going to kind of continue to come off the coast of Africa for, I think it's at least a week. And the idea is stay inside to avoid as much of the dangers of it as possible. Now, we got a YouTube video here about this dust storm. I'm going to pull this up here in a second. I think that we all need to be cautious. These things are, they do pose some health risk for us. And, we're in the middle of trying to get through COVID-19. So the last thing you need right now, believe me, is another situation with this dust storm or anything else that could be negatively impacting your lungs. Because remember, one of the unique things about COVID-19 is it seems to, unlike a lot of other coronaviruses, it seems to have a particularly detrimental effect on the lungs of its victims. So much so that a large portion of them have to be ventilated or require oxygen. So Grace says that Krista says that purple is her favorite color. Grace likes the color. Marina says, yes, eerie. Oh, I'm curious now to peek outside, but I'm not going to be spending any time outside today. Trisha says, my favorite color of all times is purple. Look at that. Colors are an amazing thing. We'll talk a little bit about that. We got some free time here today, folks. So we're going to talk about a few different things. But listen, I'm actually going to be getting out of the house today to get my hair done. Woohoo! We are excited, folks. I need color, relax, treatment. My daughter will simply get a wash and a style, like, braids or twists or whatever. She has very different textured hair. So it's very curly, and it's so thick and it shrinks quickly. But we go to a salon that there's a Spanish lady there who knows how to work magic with my daughter's hair, and I'm still learning. So we'll leave it at that because I got a lot of learning to do. Karen, good morning to you, honey. How are you? Let's watch this video about this dust plume so that we can stay informed in terms of what it means. And I see some persons sending messages and so on already for the morning. So good morning to all of them. The Saharan dust plume. What a mess. Somebody said, what else is going to happen in 2020? It's the kind of question that you probably do not want to ask right now because there is so much going on. All right, folks, stay tuned. This is an announcement from the National Weather Service telling us a little bit about this Sahara dust plume. And again, if you tuned in last night, we would have told you some facts about it, including if you look at our website. Let me just bring you guys up to par here. If you look at our website, there's an article about 5 facts about the Sahara dust plume that are interesting. So 5 things you need to know. And I think this is just one of those really interesting things. I mean, number 1 is it may interfere with the formation of hurricanes. We talked about this last night, where they basically said that because it keeps the air so dry and or moist, sorry, and what the hurricanes require is the humidity, that this might actually interfere with that. So that's interesting. There's another one here that it might be good for beaches. So because it moves a large volume of sand, that helps to build up beaches. So it helps with beach erosion potentially. It is, however, bad for the coral reefs, as you can imagine, all of that sand deposits. And they think that it actually infects coral reefs with this sea fan disease. So that's not good for the coral reefs. It may boost plankton production. Hey, what's up? We love us some plankton here in CMR. Let me tell you, I am a plankton lover. You guys need to know one thing about me. It is that I love plantains. For me, a plantain is like breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a possible snack. Plantain chips. I love them. The sweeter, the better. And what can I say? This says that it carries with it mineral deposits, in particular iron, and this has been linked to increased plantain growth in Hawaii. But it may actually kill some vegetation. And the final interesting fact about this dust plume is they don't just transport dust patches. Sometimes they help to spread virus spores. Several studies have seen an increase in the spread of disease due to dust storms. And Lord knows that is the last thing we need right now. So this dust storm could have coronavirus spores in it. Or God knows what else that might be coming off of the coast of Africa. So interesting. Mother Nature is just fascinating, I think. Okay, let us go to this video, folks. It's all about educating ourselves, making sure that we're staying informed. And for those of you who think this is a man-made situation, I hope you're tuned in so that you can really make yourself more aware.
Usually around this time of the year, we usually have times in which there are periods of time, not just one day, but a few days in which we will have extended periods of strong winds over northern Africa. As we have those stronger winds, it will pick up the dust from out of the Sahara Desert, and that dust will then be transported in the atmosphere westward towards the Caribbean. And the Eastern Caribbean in particular usually experiences each year very significant impacts with dust. And they will have out numerous times where they will have out warnings for people with asthmatic and other respiratory issues. Generally speaking, by the time that dust gets to the Cayman Islands, it is suspended in the atmosphere, 18,000, 20,000 feet up in the atmosphere. And so we look up in the sky and we can see that the sky's dust is hazy, but we don't have the dust necessarily down at the surface of the earth to create problems. The current system or the current plume that's coming across the Caribbean is somewhat of an exception. It is fairly large, it is fairly thick, probably on an unprecedented level as never seen before. And as it comes across, some of that dust is going down into the lower atmosphere. If you were to see the dust plume as it went across the Eastern Caribbean and as it impacted, let's say, Puerto Rico, for example, if you're down on the surface of the earth, you can see the dust and the horizontal visibility is decreased. Now, what we do is basically is that we look at Kingston, Jamaica, for example, and Kingston, Jamaica is a place that normally reports 10 plus kilometers of visibility. Okay, they are today reporting 4 kilometers of visibility. So their horizontal visibility is significantly decreased. And the only how the horizontal visibility can be decreased is if that dust particle is no longer in the upper atmospheres of the atmosphere, but it's down on the surface of the earth. Okay. In terms of what we're going to experience, we are expecting a gradual increase of the dust and haze coming into the Cayman area this evening and tonight. There is tomorrow expected to be perhaps what may be a moderate decrease, and then refreshing again tomorrow night, and then what stays with us then for the rest of the week, and then going into the weekend, we should be starting to see a clearing up of the dust. Anytime you're talking about dust near the surface, obviously you're going to be talking about concerns over asthmatics and people with respiratory issues. And for those individuals, it's the recommendation is either going to be you either wear a mask while you're outside or try to stay inside as best you can. If you somehow manage to get a shower out of this, you're going to find something very interesting, and that is the shower is not going to clean your car, it's going to make your car dirtier because it's going to take the dust out of the atmosphere and it's going to fall with the rain. The other side of this story is, and it comes and goes. When it's very dry, the farmers are complaining we want rain. When it's very wet, they don't want more rain. So one of the things about the dust is that the dust will cause a decrease in shower activity. So for the rest of this week, I don't expect a tremendous deal of amount of rainfall at all. If the dust is causing a decrease in shower activity, the other side of the shower activity is you need organized shower activity to form tropical depression, tropical storms, hurricanes. All right. And since the showers aren't going to be too prevalent, then it will put a cap on the air of shower, on the possibility of hurricanes. It should be noted this, and that is the dust plume that is coming here, it's not over just over Cayman or just over Jamaica. The center of that plume is way back over by Puerto Rico. Okay, so it is covering a very large area, and anywhere in that area you will have a decreased shower activity, decreased possibility to form in any tropical systems. So there are some pluses with having a dust plume.
Okay, folks, so there you have it, a little bit of information about these dust plumes and kind of how they work. And I mean, it's a natural phenomenon, apparently, and it even impacts, the rain, as Mr. Tibbetts was saying there. So just amazing that we get to live in a time, I think, when we not only experience these things. I mean, we've experienced so many things in our short lifetime, from solar eclipses, lunar eclipses, just things that happen at night, meteor showers, all sorts of really amazing things. And part of that process for me that I think is extra special is that we actually get to understand what's happening. So unlike perhaps our ancestors back in the day, we don't have to be afraid of these things because we have some degree of understanding of what's actually going on. And for me, that makes the world of difference in terms of how you process it and how you take it in. So, really amazing. Mother Nature, like I said, is just awesome. Um, It's just the things that happen are truly amazing. So good morning to a bunch of you. Don't forget, I need to remind you guys, I think sometimes, that we can take calls via WhatsApp. So if you guys are interested in joining us on WhatsApp, you can most certainly do so. I'm going to just put that across the screen. Join the conversation. We have Mr. Kenneth Bryan, representative from Georgetown Central, tuned in this morning. Thank you, Kenneth. Miss Aldine, thank you for joining us. Dimitrik is here. Morning, Dimitrik. Gloria. Hi, beautiful Gloria. Janelle. Cecile, thank you so much, all the way from the UK. Runika and Evelyn. Now, where are my New York people? I got some people in the States who are normally tuned into the program. Hope you guys are doing well. Paula Cal. Hey, DJ Paul. One of our friends there over at Radio Keyman joining us. A lot of persons have requested this show. We call it a podcast, but technically it's almost like a vlog. It's a live podcast, I guess is another term for it. But we get a lot of people asking for us to do like a collaboration with one of the radio stations where this would be an audio podcast on one of their formats. Now, there's a couple reasons why that may sound like a good idea in principle, but it probably doesn't work particularly well. First of all, this is a show that sometimes we do have some mature content, let's put it that way. And, sometimes we use one or two little words that would not be permitted on a traditional radio station. So that's the first concern. And so, I don't try to overuse those words by any stretch of the imagination. But the most interesting shows that get the most response here on our podcast format do actually fall into that category, quite ironically. So that might be a little bit of an issue. And then the logistics of like, how would that work? Like we would actually be paying someone like say Radio Keyman, for example, to run our live stream on their platform. So there's like just logistical things like that I'm not quite sure how they would work. I think the bottom line is if you're of a certain age and you don't have access to Facebook, you should know that we do stream now from YouTube as well. And you don't need to have an account or anything to watch YouTube videos. So we try to simulcast where we're normally streaming on both Facebook and YouTube. And also, we do have it available on the website. So you can actually go to the website and click on live stream and be able to watch the live stream as well. So Paul, what's the tea this morning? Evelyn says, interesting. I think she's probably talking about the dust plume, maybe. Yes, so there's quite a bit going on. Did you guys see these photos? Gina, good morning. From the, this is out by the Sandbar, Stingray City. And I think they're reef sharks. I believe that was the final analysis of what they were. But they're, I guess, relatively harmless as sharks go. I don't know how harmless a shark truly is. Because listen, if they're hungry, they're going to nibble on whatever is available. I can assure you of that. But these amazing photos were shared with us this week from persons who I guess are underwater with them. Underwater photography, I always think is so beautiful. So yes, check out these sharks swimming with the, I look at this one, this is an amazing photo. Swimming with the stingrays. And as you guys well know, the stingrays are still being fed. So fear not, they're getting fed. And it's quite possible here that these sharks are hanging out with the stingrays in order to get some of that food. Because I'm pretty sure that they're hungry too. Although I imagine because of COVID-19, they're probably doing a lot better than we think, in the sense that less fishermen have been out there snatching up the fish that they eat. But this is kind of interesting that they're coming a little bit closer to shore. There are less people out in the waters, so that probably helps with the wildlife and Mother Nature that wants to engage in what they do. I mean, listen, the ocean is not really made for us. We are infringing on the creatures that live there, including the sharks. And then we somehow get insulted and we think that the sharks should leave their habitation in order to accommodate us. I'm like, listen, if you're in the water and the shark sees you and decides to nibble on you, well, I mean, not that we want that to happen, but it's certainly understandable. So some people thought it was a bull shark. No, sorry. Someone said definitely not a bull shark. This is a Caribbean reef shark for sure. One of the many species found in the water of Cayman. And they said, this is beautiful. So most people were of the opinion that it's a reef shark and that they are very shy. Someone commented, just like I was just thinking, goes to show you that they're happy with that as humans invading their habitat. Y'all lucky these tigers not coming down from the mountains yet. Ha ha ha. Well, we don't have tigers or mountains in the Cayman Islands, but they may be coming from other places and other places of the world. So just an absolutely beautiful set of photos of what we call sort of keystone predators. They're at the top of the food chain in their environment. Although I think sharks, there are certain things that will go up against a shark that is a lot bigger. They might not be as powerful in terms of like the jaw power and the teeth, but I do believe that there's certain whales, like killer whales and stuff like that, that sharks probably just swim by and they're not going to mess with them because their weight is enormous. Antoinette, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us in the program yesterday as well, sharing your ordeal with Fidelity, trying to get your pension money sorted to hopefully complete the purchase on your home. Jonathan, thanks for tuning in. Jonathan said no thanks to the sharks. And Priscilla, good morning to you, honey. Everybody's got their cup of tea or their coffee going. I've got some water here, which I've been trying to drink more of. There we are. Someone said bull sharks, man eater. I think they actually are reef sharks though. Nothing good seeing them in Cayman's biggest tourist attraction. Dangerous and hopefully not a deadly situation because we'll pay the price for it. I mean, listen, they are what they are, and they are in their element. This person says, I'll never go out there swimming again. I think they'll probably forget that soon enough. Hashtag staying in the boat. Listen, the water belongs to the sharks. I mean, what are we going to do? I mean, obviously not if you want to get eaten by a shark, but we were not made to be ocean creatures as such. You go for a quick swim and you get out. You can enjoy Mother Nature and try to be as safe as you can. Oh, Misha, good morning. Thank you for tuning in. She's asking about the Daily Om. And you know what? We've not actually read the Daily Om in a bit. Been so busy, to be quite frank, that we've been neglecting to read the Daily Om. So thank you for reminding me. Misha is just that kind of like a Zen person. She is always looking for her like her mojo, like her good spot, you know? And since you said that, we need to read the daily for the day because you are right where you're supposed to be. And if you're requesting it, this message could be something that is pertinent to you. So I'm just looking this up. It said, let it roll off her backs. Oh my gosh. Stick a pin. Now, I'm not going to claim to have any psychic powers, and Misha's not going to claim to have any psychic powers. However, Misha and I were just having a conversation yesterday about, based on, I haven't even read this yet, but let it roll off your back. I actually said to her, sometimes she's like, I don't know how you deal with like the critics. And I always keep it in perspective because the critics can be loud, but honestly, they do not represent the majority. If I could tell you guys how much feedback I get on this platform, and especially now that I've been notarizing people's documents, I'm getting in contact with a lot of like total strangers who are calling me. And when we do the video call to confirm their documents and their ID, they're like, oh my gosh, you're Sandy from Cayman Mall Road. Or sometimes they don't even remember my name. They're just like, you're the Cayman Mall Road lady. I'm so excited to meet you. And, it just kind of reinforces this. So Misha, this is so ironic. This is absolutely divine intervention at some level. And so I said to Misha, and what Misha doesn't know is I was having the same similar conversation with Tristan. And Tristan's like, you got to tell me your secret. I literally said to Tristan, it's mind over matter. Remember when you were kids, you used to maybe say that you don't mind because they don't matter or something like that. There's a little saying that we used to say. And it really boils down to mind over matter. You take on in your head, and this is true of anything. This is why, we've got to teach our kids to be super, super resilient in life because life is going to throw you critics, illnesses, all sorts of things. And you have to know how to control your own headspace. And the earlier in life you know how to do that, the better off you're going to be. And so, Misha, this daily is for both of us and probably a lot of other people out there. I don't allow people to take up what I call real estate in my head. First of all, I don't have a whole lot in there in terms of, I don't have a whole lot of space. I have so many things going on between not just stuff that I'm doing with CMR. You guys know I have other businesses that I run. I have Roque. I've got, business management solutions. We offer services to other small businesses, including marketing and immigration help. Like there's tons of stuff that I have going on. I actually have 2 projects. I was just telling Misha about one of those projects yesterday that I have literally been sitting on since 2016. And I had to go back in my memory and try to recall when it actually was that I was saying I need to do this project, because I knew it was well over 3 years, because when I started CMR, this particular project was actually already on my, like I was kind of working on it and doing some web stuff for it. I'm not going to tell you guys what the project is yet because I want you to wait, but you're going to hear something soon about it. But yeah, so I've been working on, and I've had it in my head, and then what ended up happening was I had to put it on hold because CMR kind of took on a life of its own. And if you guys, we'll get into the history of CMR because we are coming up on our 3rd anniversary. So we'll talk about that history. And then we'll talk about the history of the actual Mall Road as well. I want to invite some persons on the program to, tell us a little bit about that. So, yeah, so, I was having this conversation yesterday with Misha about how I've got this other project that I'm actually working on that I'm hoping soon to be able to launch, because I've just this week decided to just reactivate it. And I'm like, listen, 4 years is a long time to sit on anything. And it's not like I hadn't done some stuff on it, but I haven't pulled the trigger. And so, you know what? I said, what is stopping me? Let me just do it. And that's how sometimes you have got to approach life. You've got to just say, let's get it done and let's do it. So yeah, there's a couple things on my plate. So I don't allow people who I don't think matter Everyone's entitled to an opinion. I'm not saying you're not entitled to an opinion. What I'm saying is your opinion doesn't have to matter to me. And this is where I think as people, sometimes we become too invested in what other people think of us. Even politicians. Like I see politicians who've been in the LA for 25 years talking about, what people are saying about them, and they get offended by literally the slightest thing in the world. And I'm thinking, why are you getting offended by what people say or what people think of you? You've been in this game for so long that you should know that that's part of it. Today they're going to cuss you. Tomorrow they're going to come begging at your door for a handout. And next week they're going to claim that you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. Like, it really isn't all of that earth shattering in terms of how people respond and how people will interact. And I think when you have a very strong personality, and listen, I get my personality, believe me, I think you can be extremely polarizing in the sense that they're either going to be people who love you, or they're going to be people who hate you, literally. And for me, you get to pick and choose the messages that you're going to entertain in your headspace. And so I hear the negativity. And if the negativity comes by way of constructive criticism, which we all need, I need it, Cayman Mall Road needs it, then I'm all for it. I'm like, kudos. That's something I need to take on board and consider. However, if it's just people just trying to be haters because of who you are and they just don't like you, and for whatever reason, like sometimes people don't even know why they don't like you. You just, Caymanians have a saying that your spirit just doesn't take to someone. It happens. I mean, there are people that my spirit just doesn't take to either. And I don't go as far as saying I hate those people. I just don't entertain them. I don't have them in my space. If I see them, I can say hi to anybody pretty much, except if you're a child molester. I'll heal you up. I'll say hi, give you a smile, and just keep it moving. It's really not all that. And so let's read the Daily Om. I think this is very, very interesting in light of what two separate conversations actually that I was having yesterday. And like I said, one of those conversations was actually with Misha, who's asking for it. So this Daily Om says again, let it roll off her back. When we are criticized or attacked, it is important to not take it into our heart space. Now, isn't this interesting? Because I always say, don't take it into your head space. And this Daily Om says, don't take it into your heart space. Interesting. One of the most difficult challenges in life is learning not to take things to heart and hold on to it, especially when we're younger or if we're very sensitive. We can take so much of what comes our way to heart. This can be overwhelming and unproductive if it throws us off balance on a regular basis. I mean, this is just amazing. We take so much of what comes our way to heart. This can be overwhelming and unproductive if it throws off our balance on a regular basis. Sorry, I reread that. When we are feeling criticized or attacked from all directions, it becomes very difficult for us to recover ourselves so that we can continue to speak and act our truth. Amazing. This is when we would do well to remember the old saying about letting certain things roll off us like water off a duck's back. Most of the time, the attacks and criticisms of others have much more to do with them and how they're feeling than with us. If we get caught up in trying to adjust ourselves to other people's negative energy, we lose touch with our core. In fact, in a positive light, these slings and arrows offer us the opportunity to strengthen our core sense of self and to learn and dodge and deflect other people's misdirected negativity. The more we do this, the more we're able to discern what belongs to us and what belongs to other people. Wow. With practice, we become masters of our energy integrity, refusing to serve as targets for the disowned anger and frustration of the people around us. Eventually, we'll be able to hear the feedback that others have to offer, taking in everything that might actually be constructive and releasing that which has nothing to do with us. First, though, we tend ourselves compassionately by recognizing when we can't take something from the outside without hurting ourselves. This is when we make like a duck, shaking it off, letting it roll off our backs as we continue our way in the world. And like I say, keep it moving. Misha, amazing, amazing in light of our conversation. Less than 24 hours yesterday. Misha, I need to invite you on the show. We've been planning our cooking sessions. We kept saying post COVID, post COVID. We're going to definitely do this. And here we are. So I'm telling you, Misha and I had this conversation yesterday. Misha actually said to me, I'm going to share a little bit of this, Misha. I hope I'm not embarrassing you in any way. She says, you're so strong. Remember, I get my inspiration from you before I saw you on the channel and just standing firm and fighting that crap, not giving two flying Fs, laughing out loud. You're so amazing. I used to feel so low. And then she would let things affect her so much and they would ruin her day, her day, weeks and months. And she says, you, on the other hand, so much strength to deal with the BS. You kick ass, and I love it. Hashtag be like Sandy. And yeah, I literally said to her, you know, mind over matter. I don't mind because they don't matter. That's what I said. It's mind over matter. I don't mind because they don't matter. And I tell you, I had the same conversation with Tristan yesterday. And Tristan said to me, well, at some point, you have to tell me how to deal with all of it. Have to say you either have armor as skin or you just have a secret potion that helps you cope with all of the rubbish going on. Don't know how you do it. And I said to him, definitely, we can have that conversation. All a matter of perspective, my dear, and the positive feedback definitely outweighs the negative, and they just tend to be loud. So don't take it on. It's mind over matter. That was the exact two conversations in here this morning. I was not even going to read the Daily Om because, like I said, I've been totally forgetting to do those. Misha requested it, and Misha says chills are running down my spine. Everything that we always speak about. Holy moly. And we have a connection, Misha and I. We don't know each other extremely well. We've only recently met, actually. But, you know, sometimes you meet people and right away you get a sense that you're supposed to have some sort of a friendship or relationship with them. And Misha and I just have that connection. I feel very, very strongly about this. And I don't talk a whole lot about I don't really want to call it psychic powers, but my intuitiveness or whatever you want to call it. I mean, you know, sometimes you can't really put a name to these things, but they are what they are. And there are people that you connect to, like on a spiritual, deeper level. There are people that intellectually you make a very strong connection with. You know, a couple of days ago, I think it was on Monday, I messaged April Cummings, funny enough. And April said to me, I was just thinking about you. And I said, April, I'm not going to say I'm psychic, but if I had $1 for every single time I message someone or I send someone a voice note or I call someone, or even when I'm thinking about someone just randomly, I'll be like, I'll tell you who this happened to me once with. Crosby Solomon. And Crosby and I are just acquaintances. You know, we see each other and we speak and, you know, whatever. And I was with an acquaintance of his. And in that moment, I said, oh, you know, I think it's one of his coworkers. I said, oh, gosh, I haven't seen Crosby in a while. How's he doing? And literally, no lie, the next message that came in on my phone was from Crosby. Hadn't heard from him like in months and months and months and months at that point. And so that happens to me all the time. I used to have a connection with my aunt. You guys hear me talk about Aunt Lottie. And so sometimes I knew when certain things were going on with her. And I would be, the funny thing is sometimes like she'd send me to church and she stayed back. And if something happened, like let's say I did something, I don't know, like, you know, a month ago or whatever. And I don't even recall kind of, what it was. And I'd be like, I'm sitting there in church going, you know what? Aunt Lottie just found out what that thing was. I mean, it was always so funny because as I got home, I knew exactly what was coming my way. Because trust me, when she found out, you were in a whole world of trouble. Yeah. And that always used to happen to me with her. What can I tell you? It's just the most bizarre thing. So, Misha, good morning to you. We will definitely be having our conversation soon. Krista says it's very true. It's not always easy, but it is the way to go no matter what. People will always have something to say, good or bad. Good morning, Debbie. Yeah, Krista. I mean, people have opinions, and at the end of the day, they are certainly entitled to those opinions. And like I said, you also have a choice. We all have an individual choice about whether or not you allow that to impact you. We have a life to live, and our lives can be very unique, and we intertwine with each other. We certainly cross each other's path. Even Krista and I. I mean, the way that Krista and I met. Krista, I hope you don't mind me telling this story, because actually you're overdue. You're supposed to be on this week. I know we've all been busy, but you're coming next week for sure. So let's book you for next week, Wednesday, for everybody's business or business segment. Krista and I met because Krista goes to the same church as Pastor Murray. And you guys will know Pastor Murray earlier in the year had a trial where he was on trial over some allegations brought on by some of his fellow church members. And it was something about some documents and supposedly forging their name or whatever, some ridiculous thing. And of course, the prosecution had a lot of time for this case, and they took Pastor Murray to court and dragged him through this for years, which we know they tend to do. And we had done an article just basically covering the proceedings. Now, a lot of people got upset about this article. And I mean, it was just a run of the mill. Pastor Murray is in court. This is what happened. There was nothing, against Pastor Murray, in the sense that we certainly weren't saying anything against him. We cover court cases every single day. And you try to just stick to the facts and what was brought out. The prosecution said this, they claimed this, the defense, maybe haven't had a chance to speak yet. These witnesses took the stand. You just put the information out there, and eventually you follow up, and the story concludes. So of course, we all know that Pastor Murray was vindicated by a juror of his peers, and a lot of people are upset about the article. We got a lot of young people, because Pastor Murray works very, very closely with a lot of at-risk youth in our community. So a lot of these at-risk youth were contacting us, especially on Instagram, and they were cursing and going on. And some were even emailing us, threatening us, like, oh, he didn't do it. And I was like, kid, you need to read. Nowhere did we say he did it. We're doing our job. We're simply reporting on a story. And I'm always amazed at sometimes how people do not read. Like, they read a headline and they conclude based on a headline what is going on. And it's just like, you can't do that. You need to make sure that you're reading the actual article, So a lot of them were like really, really upset. And so Krista reached out to me, separate from the young kids, and said, there were people in her congregation who were likewise really upset, and they wanted me to come and, do an article. And this is what makes Cayman Monroe different than perhaps other publications on the island, is that Krista, any of you can call me and say, hey, this is what's happening in the community right now. Will you come out to our neighborhoods? Will you do this? And, provided that time is available, I will make myself available. So Krista and I had a conversation, and she said, she would speak to the persons in her church further to see how this could be arranged. And at the end of the day, good morning, Yvette. Welcome. We decided to hold off until the trial was concluded, and then I could visit the church and have a discussion with Pastor Murray and the church members. So Angel says that's my pastor. He really is an absolutely awesome person, from what I have gotten to know of him. And so, yeah, people, when you are well liked, and I gotta say this, in his case, he's well liked for all the right reasons, but sometimes there are people who are well liked for all the wrong reasons. But if they're well liked, it doesn't matter. In the minds of people, they do become untouchable. And we see it all the time with like celebrities or politicians or whatever who can wreak havoc in communities for many, many years because they've got this personality that people really, really like. They are what we call charismatic. So, Pastor Murray is a well-liked individual, but for the right reasons. He works with young people. He has his Boys to Men program. And so, again, the interconnectivity with which we operate in this world, I'm going to just draw this in so you guys can see how this happens. So Krista called me, and Krista started talking to me, and we had a conversation. And then the conversation kind of continued, and Krista and I went a little bit deeper. And she's like, this is the first time that I'm getting to talk to you. I know of you. There are people who talk about you. But I'm getting a very different sense of who you are. And it was just so interesting. I think Krista got a bit more of an insight into my personality and what I was all about. She's like, wow, this is different than what I've heard from the people that I know. And I'm just like, people are going to judge you. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times they're not judging you even in their own experiences. They are judging you based on what other people have had to say. And those other people are judging based on what other people have had to say. It's not like by the time you figure out, well, who has actually had a real interaction with Sandy, to know who she is, or it's like, nobody. And it's like, well, how far does this, and the people that I keep in my inner circle, on Sunday, we were reminiscing a little bit with my girlfriend, Mary, and she was saying, even my husband, like she remembers when I met him, because she's the type of friend that I'd be like, oh, I met this guy. And I always tell her these little things. She's like, I remember when you were telling me about him. And here we are 7 years later, just enjoying each other's company as friends, and things have progressed to like a totally different level. So yeah, that's how Krista and I met. And then, I end up going to the trial, and hearing the verdict that day with Pastor Murray, and seeing how supportive his congregation was of him. And I did the follow-up as promised at his church. I got to talk to some of his church members. I attended a service there. At the time, my husband's aunt was visiting from the UK, so she tagged along with me. So she got to experience something that was meaningful, and amazing. And yeah, these are how we make connections. And then check it out. Krista has, as we started to talk, a clean eating business, which we're absolutely interested in. So now we bring in Krista on the show to talk about her business and educate people, not just about clean eating, but all of the wonderful things that she's doing in her life, and how she's been able to make some positive changes. And she tries to surround herself with like-minded people. And then Pastor Murray, when he had his last Boys to Men graduation ceremony, he invited me to that event, got to meet some young people there. And I got to tell you, they really lit up when I was in the room. Young people are so different. Like, I think sometimes they can take on the energy of like the elders that they're around, but at the same time, they very much have their own energy, and they can have their own minds as well. And so there were so many young people in that Boys to Men program that were just excited to have Cayman Mall Road there, because apparently on Instagram we are a thing. Like, it's a thing to be on the Mall Road or whatever. And so they were tickled pink that we were live streaming it, and they were like, giving shout outs to CMR. And we're actually going to be, just a heads up, we're going to be doing a youth program. I don't know how often we're going to offer it yet, but again, to bring the young people into the fold and to have a conversation with them and make them participate in this community that we have here at Cayman Mall Road, because Cayman Mall Road represents everyone. That's what the Mall Road is all about. It represents everything and everyone. So no topic is off limit. No person is off limit in terms of coming on the program and participating, whatever your issues are. If you're having an issue and you're feeling it, chances are so are other people who can relate to your journey. And so we are in talks with a young man who has approached us about doing a youth focused segment, and we will definitely host that. So stay tuned for that. Listen, we're coming up on 3 years at the end of the month, and there's so much more that we have to do. We've only just begun. We've only just begun. So yeah, those are some of the ways in which we have intertwined and we have met and our paths have crossed. Misha, again, I met her during the COVID-19 lockdown when she was volunteering for the food pantry. And of course, we did quite a bit of coverage of the food pantry to let people know that this is a wonderful nonprofit organization that is feeding a lot of people in our community. So make sure that you're supportive of them. And it just so happened that Misha decided to make some masks, proceeds going to the food pantry. And just amazingly, through that, our paths crossed. And that particular day, we just started to have a conversation. I think that was the second time I'd met Misha. And we started to converse a little bit deeper, and we realized that there was a much more meaningful and bigger connection there. And so Misha and I are the type of people who, when you feel that connection, you have to know how to nourish it. And we are in the process of doing that. And we have a whole list of things that we're going to be doing together, including we're going to do a segment for CMR where we're going to get in the kitchen and we are going to be cooking and talking about life. And we're going to arrange that. We don't even know what we're going to call it yet. We don't have a name for it or anything, but we're working on fleshing out those ideas. So we're excited because Misha likes to cook and I like to cook. God knows I love to eat. And so I'm going to check out some of Misha's dishes. So Angel, good morning. Hi, Anita. Thank you for tuning in. Jacqueline, good morning to you. Yvette just tuned in. Angel says he has a very good heart for the saints. Oh my gosh, it's immaculate. And she's talking about Pastor Murray. And yes, Pastor Murray is actually in my news group now, my WhatsApp news group, which you guys can join anytime. To send me a WhatsApp message to 324-1612 if you'd like to be in that group, so you get all the articles and everything that goes up on the website. And you know what is so funny, Angel, is Pastor Murray had actually been in contact with me through, I think, her Facebook page. Like sometimes he would message me and we'd have little conversations. And I didn't even realize who he was. Like I honestly didn't know. So sometimes we are interacting with people, and this happens a lot with me, as people are messaging me, and sometimes they even come back and they'll be like, oh, I'm this person that, sent you this information or sent you this photo of this accident or whatever. And they think that I know. And it's like, oh, we get so many messages that a lot of times I don't even look at the names. Like I'm just responding to the person, and I don't like overly process, well, who am I talking to? Like, I need to know who you are. Like, to me, it doesn't really matter. If you're providing information or you have a question, I'm going to answer it pretty much regardless of who you are, right? So South Marjorie says that he's a very humble human, and he is, and he, really gives back. Quincy, good morning to you. Quincy says, to thyself be true. By the way, we need to wish Quincy Brown a happy birthday. Quincy actually turned 40 this weekend. I think you turned 40 this weekend, but I know you had your weekend party. So I think your birthday, was it actually on Sunday as well? So listen, Quincy has joined the 40 crowd. Happy birthday. And he had a little get together at his home. And I did see that MLA for the District of Prospect, Austin Harris, did join Quincy for his birthday celebrations. So I'm just trying to see when your actual birthday was. I think your birthday might have been, was it on Monday then? I think according to this, your birthday was actually Monday, but you did a little celebrating on, was it Monday or yesterday? So yeah, so Quincy had, it looks like a beautiful birthday celebration from what I can see. A lovely cake. I love the cake, Quincy. Who did that cake for you? That looks really nice. With a little microphone and everything on it. Good for you. Austin Harris, like I said, was able to join the celebrations. And looks like there was Aunt Suki. And is that, oh gosh, who is that there? That's, oh, her name is escaping me. I see some folks in the background that I obviously recognize celebrating there with you. So happy birthday, happy belated birthday to Quincy. It looks like it was a fun time. Yeah, it looks like Quincy had a fantabulous birthday. So everybody give Quincy a big happy birthday shout out. We're gonna embarrass Quincy here and pull out one of his birthday photos. Not an embarrassment because everybody looks good in the photo. And looks like they had a good time. So Quincy was lucky to have his birthday celebration occur at the same time as we were released from the COVID lockdown and no more curfew, and we could have small gatherings. So this was Quincy celebrating his birthday. So beautiful cake. And Aunt Suki, Marva is in the background, and some other people celebrating with Quincy. So happy birthday, Quincy. Welcome to the 40 Club. Yeah, so Evelyn says happy birthday. Happy belated birthday, Quincy. Good morning, Daisy. Tanisha says happy birthday, Quincy. Many blessings on you always. So, you know, Quincy's an extremely talented young man with the arts, performing arts, and he has a lot of different talents. Good morning, Alric. Alric and I have had our paths crossing a lot lately because of the volunteer work that Alric does. He is very much into volunteerism, whether it's Meals on Wheels, the food bank, helping to ensure kids in our community get laptops. And there's another project that Alric is working on that we're going to have him on the show to discuss here very shortly. So South Marjorie says, after hearing the many negatives, I started following, realizing that there's no bias around here. You do good today, it will be noticed. You do bad tomorrow, we're still going to notice and make it known. Marjorie, thank you so much for acknowledging that. Some people do think that, and again, this is a perception of their own creation, that somehow we like pick on people, like certain nationalities. And I think this is so wild because, you know, every nationality has said it. And because every nationality has said it, what it has told me is that obviously we're being fair and balanced. Because if the Caymanians can say, oh, well, you're picking on Caymanians, the Jamaicans can say, oh, you're picking on Jamaicans. Sometimes a Filipino says, oh, you're picking on, I'm like, how can I pick? Like, what would be the prejudice if I'm picking on all of you? My own Caymanians, my own Jamaicans, Filipinos, like, where's the bias? Where's the, you know what I'm saying? It sounds like, not to say that picking is the right word, but since that's the word that people want to use, sounds like we're picking on everybody. And as Marjorie said, it's not about picking on anyone. It's about stories that are interesting. Other media don't cover some of the things we cover because they don't care. They just don't care what is happening literally on the mall road. And why we are different is because, hence our name, our mall road covers a much broader spectrum of what will be discussed and what will be covered. So yeah, if there's a viral video that's out there, we're going to cover it. You know, and that's kind of what we do. So I thank you, Marjorie, for realizing that. And we cover positives as well. When people do great, you know, we had those young men from who were raising over $40,000 to feed and provide for meals during COVID-19 with their kite flying project. We featured them on the website because that's an amazing accomplishment. And so we don't really care who you are. You know, if you do good, bad, whatever, there are times you just end up in the news. And it is what it is. So I know that people will take it personal if it's them or their friends. They kind of feel a way about it. But honestly, you shouldn't, because we're equal opportunity story people. Irvlyn has a show name idea for us: Cooking with Misha and Sandy. Okay. We should do a segment where we pick a name for that show. Because yes, we're going to be in the kitchen, making a mess, making some dishes, and hopefully making some good points. Tanisha says, be careful out there. The sandstorm passing through. Wear your mask when out, and shades if you have them. Yes, because you want to definitely protect your eyes and your nose and your mouth as much as possible. South Marjorie says, yes, really need shades. Tanisha, again, happy birthday to Quincy. Gigi says, happy birthday, Quincy. South Marjorie says, OMG with the flag. So beautiful. Yes, that cake is next level gorgeous. I love it. Quincy, you got to give us some insight into who made that cake for you, because we can certainly send some business their way. All right, good people. What else is going on in the world? South Marjorie says, after all, it is called the Mall Road. Welcome. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. A lot of people didn't remember what the Mall Road was, or they didn't quite get it. So I'm not entirely surprised by that, to be quite frank and honest. So it's taken a minute for some people to kind of get used to the Mall Road again, so to speak. And that's okay. It's all right. It is what it is. Let me just check our news to see what else is going on in the world. There's a lot, I should say, that is happening right around this. So Cayman tends to be trending very well with our numbers at the moment. Thankfully, we had 451 persons tested in the last batch. Test results have come back. All negative, no positives. This is such good news. So thus far, the total number of cases, I'm sorry, my nose here is itching. I'm telling you, the sandstorm, my nose is going to do a number for me. Ugh, I'm not looking forward to it, but I do have to go out today. Total number of tests carried out in the Cayman Islands is 21,282. Now, there was something weird with the live stream feed yesterday. I realized that it shut off early and it switched to something else. I don't really know why that was. The feed comes directly from the government TV, the YouTube channels. I think they were just having some issues yesterday. Government launched 10 Wi-Fi hotspots, which we told you guys about, giving people 24 access to internet on all 3 islands at those locations. The antibody testing, I think, is now launched as well. Minister Hugh informed us that 600 new trade and business licenses have been approved, which is amazing. During COVID, I guess people are realizing opportunities that are available to them. So that's fantastic. 108 planning permits have been issued, valued at over $44 million. So, you know, despite us taking our licks, we're still going, you know. It could definitely be worse. Let me put it that way. The NRA has been working on critical road projects, and the e-government team has delivered on a number of solutions. I love e-solutions where you can just go online, register your company, you know, go online, send your money overseas. I'm an online person, folks. I am taking advantage of the technology that's available. So I just had to do my company annual returns. All of that was done online, folks. The portal is there, good to go. I do have to put in for a new business license. So I personally will be taking advantage of the new COVID opportunities where basically they're going to waive that fee for you. So that's actually on my list of my very long list of things to do. So I will definitely get that done. Um, so yeah, some wonderful news. In terms of the negative results coming in. So the new immunoglobulin test started, and so far they've shown a very low level of antibody positivity in known positives in the Cayman Islands. And that's kind of interesting because I think what that means really is that our bodies are not producing, and I'm not an expert on this, but this is really what I'm thinking is our bodies are not producing these antibodies that we think will give us. Remember, people talk about herd immunity. That does not seem to be happening at all if we have low levels of antibodies in our bodies. So chances are this virus is going to need some sort of intervention by way of a vaccine. Because if your body isn't fighting it and there's low level of antibody positivity, then you will not acquire this herd immunity that people keep talking about. Sue says Hobby's birthday was last night. Woohoo! Happy birthday to Mr. McLaughlin. You got to tell us his first name, but I'm sure you guys had a nice celebration. Hopefully you had some cake and wine and got to enjoy some time with your 2 daughters and your grandkids. South Marjorie says that we're still making money to help our community. Yeah, people are out there, I think, doing what they've got to do. So Sue said, I read yesterday that they granted 3,000 work permits over COVID-19, so many, as we have so many Caymanian kids coming out of school this summer. Well, not just Caymanian kids coming out of school, but people who are actually unemployed at the moment. So I'm surprised at that number. And I don't know if those grants were like already in the pipeline coming in. And, I kind of doubt that those would be sort of new businesses that are coming online. So those are persons probably who had pre-submitted applications, or their application submissions were delayed because of the initial shutdown. And so now, as a result, those permits are coming in and they're being granted. I'm assuming that that's what's going on. So we'll try to see if we can get some more information, Sue, on those numbers, because you can't always just look at numbers in isolation, because that can be a reflection of, it can be very skewed. So in other words, if you don't have the full facts, then, you've got to be very careful with those things. So yes, thank you, Sue, for that. We will definitely look into that. I mean, it's always a struggle because, at the end of the day, everyone says, listen, there are Caymanians who are looking for employment opportunities, and they are not getting it because of the fact that there's so many people here in work permits. It's a little bit of a catch-22 situation, because I don't believe that we should be so heavily reliant on foreign workers if we have Caymanians who are willing, capable, able to do the job. Now, where the tire meets the road is trying to find all of those things. So being willing to do the job is one thing. Being capable of doing the job, in other words, are you truly qualified to do the job, or are there training opportunities available for you to take on a position, can be very different things. And so when we heard last week that the government was going to be relaunching their what do they call it? Something rights to something program or whatever. They always come up with these fancy names. Good marketing. This is a program that had been launched before, where essentially they allow employers to take on Caymanians and train them in a new area. So for example, say you were in tourism and you want to get ready to work. That's what it's called, ready to work program. And you want to work in a law firm or finance or whatever. Those companies would take you on. Government assists apparently with paying you for that during that period of time. And so their remit then is just to train you and to level you up and tool you to be able to take on a new job. And so, in theory, it sounds like a good program. Has it worked? Have we seen the results? We don't even know because there's been no real information that has flowed out. I think the first year, all they did was basically told us how many people registered for it. There was actually no indication of, okay, people registered, people were involved in the program, but how many of those persons actually got a job or maintained their job or are now working in that particular sector that they were able to to get trained for. So there has to be some follow up. Like we can't just keep as a country, cranking out these programs where people spend tons of time in their head visualizing how this is going to work, implementing it, putting it on paper, sounds good, allocating resources, hiring staff. It's government waste of money if you do all of that, and then at the end of the day, we get no indication of if it's been successful. Has it worked? What are the success matrix? How are we gauging the success of any program? And so those are the bits and pieces of information that I would love to know more about, because then we know if this type of program works, we continue to invest in this type of program because that is a direct investment in the people. If it doesn't work, then you scrap it. Not only do you scrap it, but you need to look at the people who thought it was going to work and who implemented it, because they're the same people who keep making all sorts of suggestions that never really work. And so maybe they're not the best ones to be involved in that process. For many years, I have recommended a teen court program, which is something that eons ago I was involved in when I was in high school in the United States of America. It allows juveniles to have a very different experience in the judiciary system. And no one has ever taken me up on this because, they don't want to do anything that I say because heaven forbid they should ever have to give me credit for something, whether it's a sex offenders registry or, mandatory reporting, which is something I've been pushing for many, many years of child abuse. And I do want to talk about something in relation to that. One day last week, I think it was Thursday, there was a person in our community who decided to post something very, very disturbing on social media involving a baby. And I can't tell you how much this disturbs me. And ironically enough, a male member of our community messaged me and they brought it to my attention. And I had to look at what they were saying because I had to see it. And it's the kind of thing that you will never get out of your head. And it's just so incredibly disturbing. So basically, this man was raping a baby. And it made me physically sick. And to this moment, I still feel sick even talking about this. But the only reason I'm going to briefly address this is that, first of all, you need to know that if you engage in sharing that type of content privately or even on social media, and this person actually had it shared on Facebook. And not only did they have it shared on Facebook, but they, it's just very hurtful to see this sort of thing is happening to our children. And you just have to, I think, be mindful of who you expose even the youngest children to. Sharing of this type of material is actually illegal and it's a criminal offense. To do so, there's no indications that this child is necessarily here in the Cayman Islands, but in my mind, it doesn't matter where this child is. This is the most egregious of offenses. I personally think that anyone who molests a child, and I don't care how old they are, but babies are it's just horrible. They deserve to be executed in the most, to me, their life has no value. And I believe that anyone who does that is a very disturbed and sick person, and they should be shot and killed. And that is my honest, sincere belief. And I don't care anything about human rights. If you've done it and there's evidence that you've engage in that type of behavior. And I think that there's some people who get their kicks out of watching that sort of thing. And so this person shared it on their social media platform. I had to report it immediately to the authorities, and I hope that this person is charged. If they can drag me through court for the most ridiculous BS about misuse of ICT or whatever foolishness they come up with, creative terms, I really hope that this person is charged. And if you're out there, and there are other people who had even started to share it, to reshare it, if you're out there and you are the type of person who comes across this content, you need to report it to Facebook to get it taken down immediately. You need to report it to the police so that the police can, Anaguti, oh my God, I want to show you guys. He just ran by. I don't know if you guys can see, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, he is huge. He was just sitting there by my window, I'm sorry. I get excited every time I see them because they're such amazing little creatures. He was just, like, I just turned, I saw him like sitting right there. They are so amazing. Anyway, I'm sorry. I totally got distracted there, obviously. But, this topic really upsets me. So I don't even want to spend too much time talking about it, to be honest. But, you need to know that you're committing an offense and that you will be reported. I mean, I will report you. I'll be the first person to call the police on your behind because I think apparently there are people out there who engage in the behavior. And then there's also people who are like, I don't know. I mean, I don't get any of this. I don't know if they don't necessarily engage in the behavior, but they like to watch it. Like, it's just disgusting at all levels. Like, watching it, having that content on your platforms is actually an offense. You're committing a crime when you engage in child pornography for whatever reason. And the person who shared it lives in the Cayman Islands. Now, I know they live here. They work here. Apparently, they work in at some barber shop or something, and they're also DJ. And they live, according to their social media platform, in West Bay. And it makes me wonder about them. Like, what kind of person would share this? Like, oh my God, can you believe this is happening? But they seem to like on their page to share a lot of stuff like that, or other kids, like little kids beating each other up and all sorts of like really weird, disgusting stuff with children. So I don't know what their propensity is, but I'm very suspicious of anyone who watches that sort of thing. Like, literally, I just had a look at it because I needed to make sure what I was reporting was what this person was saying. And like, you can't just report someone and be like, oh, well, a third person said, you need to be able to say, I saw it with my own eyes. And so it's disgusting. It's absolutely, absolutely disgusting. And I was only saying that because, I think we were talking about, I don't even know what brought up that right now, but Larry from New York is tuned in. Thank you so much, Larry. So a few of you are commenting about works and the whole work permit situation. South Marjorie says there's always training opportunities. Comes back to racial discrimination. Even if you're a degree worker going to the job, you have to get somewhat training brand new, and what you need, what you take to the field after with your theoretical knowledge is different. But yes, I think everyone can be trained if the individual doesn't try to upgrade themselves after it's different. Yeah, we talked about a lot of this stuff with, the employment issues in Cayman are actually very, very complex. They're not as simple as sometimes we think they are, although they should be relatively simple. We saw President Trump yesterday saying, for example, no more green cards, no more H-1 visas and J-1 and whatever, all these different types of work visas he's actually put a stop to. And a lot of Americans are saying, good, do that. And the second we say in the Cayman Islands, well, let's put a stop to work permits. It's like, no, you can't do that. And then there's this catch-22 of, the people who are taking out the work permits are Caymanians for the most part. And so now you're interfering with a Caymanian being able to hire who they want. And listen, there's so many very complex issues. There are prejudices, as South Marjorie has said, definitely prejudices exist. It's unfortunate, but sometimes Caymanians don't want to hire their own because, you know, oh, they've got a reputation of being lazy or a reputation of this or that, and a lot of it honestly comes down to control. They want to be able to control you. And to a certain extent, controlling a Caymanian is a little bit more challenging than controlling others, in the sense that if you breach, the laws with a Caymanian, you're probably more likely to get reported. When I say laws, I mean like immigration, paying of benefits, pension, health insurance, and that sort of thing. And when that happens, with an expat, expats, depending on who they are, obviously, and where they're from, tend to be a lot more afraid to report those types of things because they feel like they're going to get blacklisted with their work permits, for example. Sometimes, I've had expats say to me, as soon as I get a foot out the door, then, if I get a new permit approved or whatever, then I'll report them. But again, they're like, this person can send a letter to immigration and not get my new work permit approved. And so these are some of the considerations that, go into why I think a lot of people prefer to have people on work permits. And there's also a little bit of this understanding that depending on where you're from, just human nature, you like to have other people around you who are like you, where you're from as well. So that's part of our ingrained prejudices that exist that oftentimes we're not able or willing to acknowledge. But we want to be around people like us, So, however, if we have 3,000 new work permits processed, like I said, I don't know what percentage of those persons are going to be on island working. It seems to me that the economy is okay at the very least. We've not yet felt this recession that they've said that we're in for. And if that is the case, then any Caymanian that is looking for employment, that wishes to work and is capable and able, should have the opportunity available to them. There has to be something that ensures that that happens. So one of the reasons why Works has now implemented this job portal is basically the idea that, you should register there. You have to register there as both an employer and job seekers don't have to, but it is highly recommended that you register there. And that now is where you will go to see what jobs are available. And if you see a job that's available, you're going to apply for that job. Immigration will know that you've applied for that job. So the new work, it's called Jobs Cayman Portal, is allowing, they claim, greater accountability and a means by which people are able to actually, people in immigration, enforcement arms are actually able to do the necessary checks on what's going on. So that's good news. We certainly hope that remains, and that's the situation. I think at the end of the day, we'll see. We shall see how well that works. I'm not sure. I'm not, like I said, these programs are always introduced with the best of intentions, and then the end result isn't as successful as we think it's going to be. So thank you to Minister Hugh for providing that information. The licensing department processed during this time, over the past 3 months, over 10,101 vehicle license renewals. So that's good. There are things coming online in terms of guidance for babysitting guidance for parents and primary caregivers. Because remember now, your children can have their caregivers back in the house. So helpers are coming back to work this week as we moved into level 2. Early childcare centers can open. Summer camps can open, vacation Bible schools, but there are guidelines in place for those. And And some of the sports, which restarts on July the 19th, they also have guidelines for that. I can tell you that some early childhood centers have said, listen, the space that they have to work with and the number of children that they have to work with, unfortunately, they're not able to reopen at this time because you can't expect a 3-year-old to practice social distancing. I don't care what anybody says, they just do not get it. I have a 3-year-old, and the first thing they want to do is rush up and hug each other and touch each other and whatever. So the daycares know this, and so a lot of them are not reopening at this time because it's impossible to reopen and maintain the social distancing requirements. So keep that in mind, sorry, in terms of that. So if you are a Caymanian returning that wants to come back, permanent resident and work permit holder, you can contact, you know how they had curfew time? Well, curfew time is now going to be migrated into a new entity called travel time. And so basically, the government will be doing everything it can in its power to actually coordinate the return of citizens, so Caymanians, PR holders, permanent residents, and work permit holders into the jurisdiction. So they're also helping people repatriate. So this is now repatriation flights. And I think this falls under Chief Officer and the Ministry of International Trade, Investment, Aviation, and Maritime Affairs. So Chief Officer Eric Bush. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that this is Alden's ministry, or is this a new one that, whose ministry is this? There is a new one that they hadn't assigned to anyone yet. There was some speculation that Austin Harris might have been getting it. I'm not sure if this is his, but I think this could be Alden as well. So since March the 22nd, when government closed their borders, the government has arranged some 30 emergency repatriation flights that have enabled people to go home. We know the situation with Nicaragua, which we're gonna try to, talk about, if not today, definitely tomorrow, because they are stranded here and their situation is becoming dire because a lot of them are not working and they're really in need. The National Emergency Operations Center and the governor's office, along with Cayman Airways, have worked with the Cayman Islands Government Office in the UK to put on a number of air bridge flights that have allowed the repatriation of people both from the Cayman Islands to, the UK, the Philippines, even India. And of course, we've done some regional flights as well, Honduras, Miami. And so those have been very, very instrumental in allowing people to return home during these times when they really needed to go back because they've had, no jobs. If they work in tourism, obviously that's going to be shut down for quite some time. So it says here for the next few months, we're still under restrictions. Travel will require streamlined coordination between a number of government ministries, statutory authorities, as well as other countries, including via the governor's office. So that is now travel time, and they will continue working on those missions and keep us up to date on what's happening. I had someone inquiring recently about a Honduras flight, if there's going to be another one anytime soon. Don't know yet, but we do know that some Miami flights and stuff are coming on board. So the numbers across the world for COVID-19 obviously are over 9 million now, and almost 500,000, which is 500,000 persons dead. There's been some discussion about the potency of the strains and if there's a new, more potent strain that's emerged. And the World Health Organization says that there's no evidence that less potent strains of virus are emerging. And there's no evidence that a decline in communicable or impact of the virus. So it's still very much with us. And I think that this is really important because a lot of people are like, oh, we're in the down, we're in the down, the curve has been flattened. The curve hasn't been flattened at all worldwide. In fact, there are increases that we were talking about last night in over 80 plus countries around the world. So it's not flattened. I think what's happening here in the Cayman Islands, which is giving us a bit of a misguided perception of what is happening elsewhere in the world, is that we have managed to contain it simply because our borders are closed. The people who are sick are recovering. And we're having, because again, people were sheltered in place and we had the social distancing, mask wearing provisions, washing of your hands. Hopefully people will continue to do all of those things. We have not had any significant number of dead persons. We had the one that everybody's like, oh, it was imported in. That's given us a little bit of a cushion and, in my opinion, a bit of a false sense of security about what's happening elsewhere in the world. And that is why people are of the viewpoint that, oh, we could open our borders. That would be okay. Trust me. Every place that is reopened prematurely is now regretting it. So, I think the governor made mention of the fact about reopening of our borders, that it's going to be a matter of risk assessment. There will be no easy way to do this, and there will be some trade-offs. But we'll see how this happens. For sure, if we're able to reopen in September, and I think that's a big if, I'm not a proponent of that at all. I think that that's going to be a mistake. But of course, we're still a few months out, so we'll see as we get closer to July and August, kind of where the numbers are trending. But if the trend continues where they are right now, we might have to reopen and say what? Like the European Union, Americans can't come in. You can't come in if you're traveling through or if you're in the US, because they do not have this virus under control. So does that mean that just people from the UK come in? Well, hold on now, folks. The UK doesn't have it under control either. So what are we going to do? Let people in from Jamaica? Oh, hold on. Jamaica's reopened its borders to Americans and other people, so now they don't have it under control. So, I mean, it's going to be challenging, to say the least. Good morning, Coracita. Diana, good morning from the British Virgin Islands. Thank you so much for tuning in. South Marjorie says, in all honesty, I don't think Cayman can do without work permits. Well, no one has ever said that. I mean, listen, the population size of Caymanians simply isn't enough to maintain all of the jobs. So we need work permits. I think the only question is, do we need as many as we have, or do we need work permits to the extent where qualified Caymanians are not being given opportunities that they apply for? And I think there has to be a more rigorous examination of work permit applications, and even the advertising, because this is one of the reasons why Works had to insist on mandatory advertising, the creative advertising that occurs when people draw up their job adverts. Some of them tailor those ads to the candidate that they have in mind. So you need to have an experience in microbiology, negative 5.21A, whatever. And it's like, how many people in the world have that? Oh, this one person. Okay. So I think that's kind of where there has to be greater opportunity to dissect the process. Sasha says, oh, right. I think I missed a comment here from South Marjorie. One lady told me that she didn't get the job because she was told she didn't pass the written test, and she had to do she had to get a better paid job somewhere that she won't end up learning nothing that can help her later. What? All to find out that she didn't get it because she was seen as too fat. as others came in the job that didn't have to do the test. Wow. And so, South Marjorie, we do know that some employers will purposely put obstacles in an individual's way, make them do all sorts of tests. I myself have been subjected to this. Like, I've had to do tests. Now, listen, this is someone with multiple degrees, right? And I have had employers make me sit exams and do tests that had nothing to do with the job, really, but like um, arithmetic and calculations. And it was just like, what does this have to do with a marketing job or whatever? I can't even remember what the jobs were. It was just so incredibly bizarre, but they're looking for any way to try to disqualify you. So maybe they think because I have a writing degree or a law degree and that's my background, that I don't know anything about math. So they're going to trip me up with this like crazy math test and make me do this math test with all sorts of calculations. And I'm like, listen, give me a calculator and a computer and I can answer any math question you got, honey. Because I'm a resourceful person. So I know how to find the answer. So if I'm in the job, I'm not working as an accountant. You know what I'm saying? I know how to get the answers. If I can get the answers, that's all you probably need to know. But yeah, so sometimes South Marjorie, I know for a fact that they create tests and criteria that ordinarily would not exist because they're trying to find a way to eliminate you and to be able to say, oh, well, you didn't pass this obscure test that we've just created just for you. And even within government, government jobs now, when you apply for management level jobs, there's normally an element of a project that you have to put together to demonstrate and to share your ability to, come up with ideas and whatever. And can I tell you, government legit uses people's ideas who didn't get the job. They're going to pick somebody else. And I've heard of instances where they pick less qualified people to get these jobs, and then they're going to take the ideas from other candidates that have been submitted in order to further their processes. So it's like, as a candidate, they're getting to use your ideas and your knowledge under the guise of a recruitment process to generate ideas for government. And they say, oh, well, this is how we're going to know if you're capable of doing this job, because part of this job is coming up with solutions and writing reports. And, so they want you to put all of this kind of stuff into writing. And I have done a number of those, and some solutions that I've actually provided and some of those processes, I know for a fact have been implemented in government. So if someone is good enough during the interview process to take their ideas and to run with it and later on implementing it, maybe those are the type of persons that you actually want to hire to work in your government departments and agencies, because they're actually the ones who understand what's going on. Just food for thought. I noticed that the camera's a little bit, I think it's, there we go. South Marjorie, thank you for that. Very sad indeed, but it does happen. Luna, love, hola, buenos dias. ¿Cómo estás? Sasha says, perhaps, but we can't blame Works for Cayman submitting work permit applications. Remember that the majority of work permit holders have Caymanians as employers, and this is what I was saying earlier. Sasha, you're absolutely right. We can only custom if they approve it. I have to be fair, their Jobs Cayman portal still sucks and needs to be fixed so that Caymanians aren't frustrated when they try to register as a job seeker. Sasha, I would love to hear your feedback in terms of why you say it sucks, and what are the real issues with it. And maybe one show we will actually register for it and go through the process so that we can see exactly what's involved. So Sasha agrees that that's disgusting for someone to do that. I think one of the reasons I'm yawning when I'm sitting down, this is why a lot of times I do stand up when I do the show, is standing up allows the blood to kind of flow properly into the lungs and everything else. And you notice that I hardly ever yawn when I'm standing, right? But when I'm sitting, it's like, that's why it's important to stand up, folks. Get the blood moving and circulating. So David is jumping in the conversation this morning, talking about the situation with Miss Isley Conley. And David, yes, you did miss the apology, and we actually discussed it. I think it was last week, Thursday or Friday, right here on the morning segment. So you are woefully late, and we explained, not by way of an excuse, but we certainly explained what happened, and we have done more than one apology. So, and we have tendered our personal apologies as well. So, David, it's unfortunate that you are an entire week late, apparently. So you got to keep up. Just because you've missed it doesn't mean that the apology wasn't published and that the family was not contacted directly. So there you have it. Okay, folks. So yes, I guess David doesn't want to talk about work permit opportunities for Caymanians, or not work permit opportunities, work permit issues and work for the local population. Anything else, folks, by way of the work permit discussion? Like I said, I think one day that we will spend some time actually going through the portal itself and giving some feedback. Maybe there's things that we can, Sasha, message me, because I'd like to make sure that you're tuned in that day. We can certainly have a discussion and what the issues are with the portal. So David is continuing. Being a week late doesn't change anything. Well, you're the one who's late, David, and you're the one who's misinformed and not aware that an apology was tendered on more than one occasion and that we had actually discussed it. So the fact that you want to now, I'm not saying anything about that changes the fact that it's happened. The point is, you are coming into a conversation discussing something that we have already addressed. And so, because you want to address it, isn't now something that I'm going to take on. We have addressed it. And so you're the one who's late. I'm not saying that, this, you can discuss this till you're blue in the face. You can sit on your platform and have this conversation all you want. That's your freedom of speech and that's your choice. But you're accusing us of not having issued a public apology. And I'm telling you, we did that a week ago. So that's what I'm saying. That's why you're a week late. And I don't really give a shit, David, whether you think this is sarcasm or not. This is the hard, cold truth. And I'm going to give it to you hard. I'm going to give it to you cold. You're misinformed about there not being an apology. If you go on the website, you can certainly find it. If you go back to our podcast, you can see that we discussed it, we talked about it. And just by way of additional information, we have actually spoken to several of the family members as well and tendered our apology. So do we need to apologize to you specifically, David? Is that what it is that you're wanting here? I mean, help me to understand. An apology was done to the entire community. We discussed this at length in our podcast. So what is it that you want right now that would make you happy? Do explain to me how we can appease you this morning, because you obviously do think that I give a damn about appeasing you. The people to have appeased were the people who were wronged by that article, and we've already done that. So this isn't sarcasm. This is me just trying to understand why you are insisting on bringing your negativity into the show this morning. Give me a reason to block you, because you do this quite a bit, David, and it certainly wouldn't be the first time, and I doubt it's going to be the last time. You know what I find amazing? There are people like David who only engage in a conversation when they have something negative to say. David never jumps in. He's not a regular viewer to the program, obviously not, because he would know all of this was done. Written apology, long discussion on the show. He would know all of that had happened if he was a regular viewer, but he just jumps in as almost like an agitator to have something to say that's negative. Never one to say, oh, wow, this is a great article. Congrats to these young people for doing X, Y, Z. Like absolutely nothing on a positive side on this platform. And, going into, we've talked about this before here in CMR. We're coming up on our third year here shortly, third anniversary. And one of the things that I've said, and we get it a lot when we have discussions about Jamaica, like these people like, oh, you hate Jamaica, you're this, you're that. And I'm like, you know what? at some point, even everyone who agrees with all sorts of freedom of speech rights, have to say that, listen, if you only come on this platform to be negative, we don't need you. Simple as that. We don't care. You've got your own Facebook pages. You can go on there and be as negative Nancy, negative David, you do whatever you want. You can say whatever you want on your own platform. But I do find it interesting that there are people who never have anything positive to say. And when the positive things come up, they never comment on those things. So you guys know, at the end of the day, we publish all sorts of stories about Jamaica that are good, bad, and different, just like we do with the US and everywhere else. And there are those persons who never comment on that stuff. And then the second we publish a story that they think is negative, it's not even that it's negative, it's just that it's part of the storyline. They jump in like, oh my gosh, CMR does this, CMR hit. And it's like, do you really pay attention to CMR? Because if you did, you would know better. It's like, I can't remember. Remember when we did the article over a week ago about the fact that Jamaica had implemented a state of an emergency in Kingston because they'd had the Ray Ray market that was put on ablaze on fire by some gangsters. And then there was an issue with the police being attacked, and several police officers were killed. They were ambushed by gangsters and whatever. And Jamaica's the prime minister said, hey, we're shutting down, putting state of emergency in for this segment of Kingston. So we did the story, and someone actually had the audacity to say, well, this is strange that Cayman Mall Road is covering this because no one else, we don't see this being covered in Jamaica. And I'm like, what? So I was like, okay, since you think that that's the case, let me show you. I'll provide you with the links of the other agencies, news agencies, including Right in Jamaica, that have actually covered the story. It's just so amazing the things that people say and the things that people take into their heads. That it's just like, it's just unbelievable. So, David, I'm going to suggest that you read the Daily Om of the Day, which is called Let It Roll Off of Your Back. You are reinforcing why Misha obviously felt it necessary. There you go. Have some reading there for you. Why Misha even requested that. Maybe psychically she knew that you were coming on the program today. So read that and take that in. And you will understand that we are going to keep it moving, and we're not going to acknowledge any more of your comments. So someone just sent a picture about something in their backyard. I'm trying to figure out what this photo is supposed to be of. This is Newlands in my backyard. Oh, the haze. Oh, thank you for sharing that. Yes, someone has just sent a photo. It definitely is looking kind of hazy. I've not been outside yet, so can't say that I have any firsthand experience with the haze this morning. But again, folks, that is the plume. Just a quick announcement. Someone has sent across an ID of someone who's been found, that their ID has been found, sorry. If you know a Dwayne R. Thompson, I think it looks like he is a contractor because they found a builder's ID and his driver's license. So Dwayne Robin Thompson, please contact us, and we can certainly see if we can reunite you with your IDs. So if someone has found your IDs, and if you contact us, we'll get you. All right, so today is Wednesday. Just a reminder, folks, that Miracle Brokers has fully reopened. They're back to normal hours. So if you need any assistance with packaging, moving, logistics, customs, brokerage, you can certainly contact them. They have a program. It's what's called a Bayan box, where you can actually send the box to the Philippines. And they have it in the metro area, and then they have it in the province area. So if you're sending packages, whether it's care packages or shipping some goods back to the Philippines, you can do so. And they do have appointments available. It's by appointment only if you need to do your collections at Miracle Brokers. Of course, they're still trying to engage in the social distancing part of things. So you've got to wear your mask. You can only come in, if you have an appointment, and they're asking one person per pickup sort of thing, if you need to pick anything up. So yes, thank you for that announcement. So yes, thank you, Sue. We are going to be going off to the salon here shortly. David is asking for the link. David, you're capable of searching just like anyone else. The only reason I sent that particular link is it's still up on my screen. And I know you think I have time to handhold you this morning, but I actually don't. Yes. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else pressing in the last few minutes of our program. You guys know we wrap things up at 9:15. Oh, right. So the RVA Argus, they were visiting here doing some hurricane exercises, and they offered helicopter support. I think they have now left the jurisdiction. So I'm interested to know. I thought that they were actually going to be staying during hurricane season. I guess not. They were just doing training exercises with the local support teams and so on. There were some kayakers who were rescued, I think, by the police helicopters. They'd gotten themselves into some trouble off of the waters. So there was an announcement that applications for British Overseas Territories citizenship, so BOTC, naturalization, registration, and British registration, and the expungement of criminal records can still be submitted to the Deputy Governor's Office via email. And then the fees can be paid by credit card or local checks, and they can be paid at the local post offices. And you can download your application at odg.gov.ky. And then you visit the post office to pay the fee, email the form, copy of your receipt, and you are good to go. So, the bottom line is there are a lot of services that are still being made available to the public. I'm going to put some of these in the comment section here. And it really just is a matter of you inquiring. The government, central government, will not fully reopen in terms of you actually going into an office. However, if you need to get services done, e-services are available in some form or another. So let us just keep up with those, and we will continue to provide you with that information so that you know how to get, all of these things done. The lesson here for a lot of companies is that people can continue to work remotely, even, law firms, financial services, and so on, and still get the job done. amazing, isn't it? I mean, we do live in the 21st century, so it truly is amazing. So Alaric has a comment about the employment situation. So Alaric says, in my humble opinion, the unemployment situation in Cayman is impacted by one, failing public school system. Reports of inspectors and the Auditor General report confirm this, where there are many issues that remain. These issues impact the readiness of our students for the real world. Number two, the way people are socialized in Cayman. If you have good networking contacts, or if you know the right people, you can learn about new job opportunities or promotion or advancement opportunities. Alric, I can't read the rest of your comment because it is long. And unfortunately, this, I need to run over here to Facebook. Hold on one second. There is a limit for my screen and how much I can see. So let me see where we picked up. So often the networking contacts of decision makers in certain companies are persons from the country of the decision maker. Yes, this is sometimes because it's natural for the decision maker to socialize with people from his or her country. And so when the referral is made, I think there was supposed to be something else there, but number three, initiatives were designed to assist Caymanians to get back to work. Often the websites or processes related to those initiatives do not function or require Caymanians to jump through hundreds of loopholes. And number four, over time, informational policies may have developed and are in place that tend to lean to the consideration of foreign workers more than Caymanian workers. Or posts are designed to discourage applications by Caymanians. This is even the case with the Caymanian with multiple qualifications and internal experience. And number five, failure to enforce the immigration law. I would wholeheartedly agree with you there, Alric, and I think that that about sums it up. That's probably a good place to stop. Alric, we will have that conversation, perhaps based on the comments on today's program. We need to have that conversation sooner rather than later. We will be back here tomorrow morning. Tomorrow is Thursday. Prep briefings on Friday, and then next week they're going to adjust and go back to, I think they're just going to have press conferences once per week. So Petra agrees, saying with number three above, I looked at the work site today. It's very user unfriendly. So I tell you what, guys, let us spend some time. I haven't looked at it personally. But let's book a day, maybe tomorrow or the day after, where we go through the website and we see what's there and what the issues are. And Petro, please tune in so we can digest it and, you know, provide hopefully some constructive feedback to the government and how they can improve the website. Sometimes I think they have people build, I think government does a lot of business with NetClues, so I don't know if that's who did this website or not, but there are times when you build a website, and I've had this experience, you know, you work with designers and they don't always get from a functionality perspective or just a layperson's viewpoint what needs to be in place. And that's why it's a good idea to actually not just build a website and have the technical web developers put it together. But before you launch it to the broader public, you put almost like a focus group in place and you have those persons go through your website, do different things, test different things, and give you feedback on what they think of it. So I mentioned earlier in the program that I am working currently on a program of my own, not a program, but on a new project. And it's a web-based project. So one of the things that I will have to do is actually test it. And I'll be testing it. And at a certain stage, I'm going to actually ask other people to test it as well, because you want to make sure that, you know, different components of the website actually work. And not only work, but as you rightfully said, they are user friendly, like it makes sense. And that's where I don't know if government has actually done that with the Works website. Again, good idea. but implementation is so incredibly important. How well you implement it. And websites can be extremely tricky. And as a matter of fact, just this morning, I actually was messaging my own web guy to say, hey, when do you have some time today to go through a few things that I need you to look at? So yeah, we can do that one day. So stay tuned. All right, folks, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Appreciate your feedback. David, I wish you a beautiful day. Hopefully you can go back and do some back reading and watch some previous shows. I can't remember exactly what day last week we actually tendered the apology that you're inquiring about. Alric, Evelyn, all of our regulars who are here. Sue, Corisita, South Marjorie, Diana, Sasha. Sasha, make sure you tune in when we have this employment conversation. Alric, let me know your availability to have this discussion because I think you make some very, very good points. Maybe we need to do like what we did last week or the week before, talking about race relations. Let's do an entire week worth of labor and employment relation discussions, because it's not something you can just do in one segment. We have it piecemeal all the time, but maybe we need to pull it together and do a whole week of it. Why are Caymanians not getting opportunities? What's happening with education? What's happening on the job? All of these things. I think that's a fantastic idea. And if you are interested in joining in the conversation, by all means, do contact us. Evelyn, you have a blessed day as well. Folks, remember the Saharan dust is upon us. Just be cautious out there today. Spend very limited time outside if you can help it. If you drive in your vehicles, you might want to turn on the recycle air option instead of pulling in fresh air into your vehicles as well. If you suffer from asthma and other things, please be careful, especially now. I can feel myself definitely, sinuses are impacted. I don't know if it's that or just a regular sinus thing today, but Evelyn says, "'Twas a pleasure spending my morning with you." Thank you so much, Evelyn. You guys have a beautiful day. And I know we've been doing these little outros that you guys, the intro and outro of the show, we're actually getting them sorted out with some videos so you can hear them better, because I'm aware that the audio quality, because we're pulling it through the computer, and the manner in which we are is really not the best. So we're going to get that sorted out for you. I have my guys working on it. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes here at Cayman Mall Road. Sometimes you just don't know what's going on, but we're always working hard. So we'll see you guys again tomorrow morning, and enjoy every minute of your day.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.